Hi, Total Recapped here. Today we will be going through the events of the 2020 sci-fi thriller movie Sputnik, directed by Igor Abramenko. Now warning, this video contains spoilers, so watch at your own risk. So let's get right into the movie. The film is set in 1983. It is the ending hot period of the Cold War. Two Russian cosmonauts are in a spacecraft chatting about what they will do when they land. They are at the end of an orbital research mission and are about to return to Earth. After getting the green light from the mission control, the astronauts dissociate the aircraft and head towards the Earth. However, in their way, the aircraft starts acting strange and moves faster than it is supposed to. A few seconds later, they manage to control the ship, but just then they notice a strange creature has latched onto their spaceship. Cut to Soviet Kazakhstan. A soldier and guard notices a parachute dropping from the sky and goes to check it. The craft from earlier has crash-landed. Both the cosmonauts are heavily injured, however one of them, named Konstantin, survives. In the Moscow Research Institute of Brain, the officials gather for a conference to discuss a young psychiatrist, Dr. Tatiana Klimova's controversial methods. Tatiana had almost drowned one of her patients as an experiment to cure his disease. Even after being threatened to be dismissed from her position, Tatiana doesn't acknowledge her mistake. The officer in charge, Colonel Samirodov, watches the conference from afar. After the meeting, the colonel introduces himself to Tatiana and asks her to accompany him to meet a patient. He wants her expert views on an interesting case and even offers to take care of the board if she agrees. That night, they fly to Kazakhstan to meet their patient, who happens to be the surviving cosmonaut from earlier. On their way, the colonel tells her about the spacecraft's crash landing and Konstantin's survival. He reveals that Konstantin has been experiencing episodic amnesia, but he doesn't expose any more information, waiting for Tatiana to sign an NDA. When they land, they go straight to a heavily guarded all-union scientific research institute. Konstantin is being hypnotized and interrogated by Dr. Jan Riegel, while a whole team of researchers watch them. The hypnotism is unsuccessful, so Dr. Riegel is frustrated. Tatiana then goes to interview him herself. They chat for a while, but Konstantin doesn't reveal any valuable information. Tatiana is then brought into her room. Late at night, the colonel knocks on her door and brings her back to the lab for an emergency. A group of researchers watch Konstantin on the screen through a camera. He moves vigorously in his sleep. His hands start to crackle and it looks like he is having a seizure. But just then, Konstantin drops from his bed and vomits blood. Something starts coming out of his mouth. The officials watch in terror as they see that it is some kind of creature. The creature crawls up and moves around. Tatiana goes into Konstantin's chamber and comes face to face with the creature through a glass door. She is beyond surprised. The creature then attacks her, but the door restricts it. Finally, the colonel informs Tatiana about the creature. He says that the creature is definitely not terrestrial and that Konstantin had brought it from outer space. It has been living inside Konstantin the whole time. However, it doesn't harm him. It just comes out at night when its host is asleep. The creature and Konstantin have formed a completely symbiotic relationship where it lives in Konstantin's esophagus and takes nutrients from the food that he eats. Konstantin, however, is unknown to all of this. The colonel's mission is to separate the host and the parasite, and Tatiana is brought to the establishment to help him. Konstantin was first taken to a rehabilitation facility after his landing. There, on the very first night, the creature attacked a medical professional. The doctors have not found a safe way to separate them. Konstantin was heavily injured after the crash landing, but was able to recover within 2 days. So the creature also gives him the power of regeneration. Looking at Konstantin's reports, Tatiana finds out about his son, who he had put in an orphanage after the death of his mother. She calls the orphanage and finds out that the boy is handicapped and cannot walk properly. In the following session with Konstantin, Tatiana tells him that he is not a hero for sitting in a tin can to explore space at the government's expense. This agitates Konstantin, which is exactly what Tatiana wants. Then she brings up his son and tells him that a father who puts his son into an orphanage is not a hero. Konstantin is left distressed after the session. This raises his hormone levels. She tells the officials to test his hormones to find out what the creature exactly feeds on. She also advises the colonel to put Constantine in the common medical ward so he can socialize with other people. They have to recreate his normal life as much as possible for the best results. That day, Constantine is given a new, well-furnished room. Tatiana comes into the room and apologizes to him for provoking him earlier. Constantine tells her that he knew about the child only a week before his flight. That night, he is brought back to the cell to sleep. Tatiana waits for the creature to come out impatiently. When it is out, she lays down on the ground while it watches. The creature imitates her actions. Then it sees Constantine's toys lying on the ground. Tatiana asks the guards to raise the glass. Everyone is shocked. She puts on a protective suit and meets the creature without any other form of safety. She still has the toy in her hand. She goes near the creature and is about to touch it when she slips on the slimy substance it has secreted on the ground. The creature then drags her by the legs. The guards run to save her and somehow manage to drag her out of there. At the same time, the colonel closes the glass door before the creature can escape. However, her leg is injured. She and the colonel chat about the situation when Tatiana reveals that the creature and Constantine have become one. So much so that the toy reminds Constantine of his son FX the creature as well. Tatiana later watches the video of her encounter with the creature. While watching it, she realizes that some parts of the footage are missing. She asks Dr. Regal, but he doesn't answer. Instead, he suggests she go back to Moscow. Tatiana suspects that the officials are hiding what the creature actually feeds on. Regal agrees to reveal the secret to her. He puts her on the back of his jeep and drives her somewhere. A group of soldiers bring out a man and take him into a cased area. The lights are then turned off. Tatiana watches all of this while hiding in the jeep. A pathway between Constantine's cell and the cage is released. The creature then crawls into the cage and snatches the man's head off of his body. Tatiana is beyond surprised. They have been feeding the creature living humans every night. Dr. Regal then brings her back to the building. He informs her that the creature doesn't actually feed on human flesh, but on a hormone called cortisol when a human is scared. So it knowingly scares them before it eats them. The following day, Tatiana takes Constantine for a run. She then secretly reveals to him about the creature he has brought from space. She tells him that the officials feed the creature human beings every night, so they must inform the government immediately. Hearing all of this, Constantine doesn't react at all. He asks her to meet him at 1 a.m. that night. That night, Constantine doesn't take the sleeping pills. He then tricks the hall guard into coming to watch a movie with him. He sneakily gives her the sleeping pills. He then sneaks into the hallway to meet Tatiana and takes her to a restricted area in the building. Several dead bodies that the creature had eaten lie in the lab. Then Constantine reveals that he can see everything that the creature sees, so he has known about it from the beginning. Every kill the creature has made, Constantine has seen it. He tells her to wait until 2 more weeks when the officials from Moscow will arrive. Then they will send Constantine off to his home, but till then, no one should know that Constantine knows of the creature. The colonel would kill him if he found out. However, Tatiana doesn't agree with letting more people get killed for 2 weeks. They get into an argument, after which she leaves the room. On her way, she is caught by the guards and brought to the colonel's office. He has found out that Tatiana knows the creature feeds on people. He informs her that the people who are given to the creature are prisoners, either murderers or rapists. He then takes her to show her the feeding up close. The creature is left alone with the prisoner. It screeches and makes noises to scare him. Tatiana begs the colonel to stop and that she will find a new way. She then tells the guard to open up the cage for her. The colonel agrees and she is left in the cage with the creature and the prisoner. She stands before the creature and tells it that it is her. It screeches at her, but she starts to sing a song. Constantine had told her that this is his favorite song in one of the sessions. Listening to it, the creature stops screeching and goes docile. But just then, the prisoner from behind it tries to escape the cell and makes a noise. The creature goes wild again and attacks the man, biting his head off. After it all ends, the colonel asks her to keep their differences aside and help them to control the creature. The following day, she inspects Constantine's fellow cosmonaut, Krill. It turns out that he had not died in the crash, but was severely injured for all this time. He has not regained consciousness yet. She finds out that he was in an early stage of cancer and has Addison's disease. Tatiana believes that the creature chose Constantine as its host instead of Krill because it could sense Krill's disease. While talking about his case, Tatiana secretly tells Dr. Regal that she plans to escape with Constantine and that they need his help. The doctor is doubtful of the idea, but in the end agrees to help them. Later, he brings her a box with a sedative in it. She injects the guard and hides his body. She then goes into Constantine's cabin and tries to inject him with Addison's disease. That way the creature will exit his body as it did with Krill, but Constantine refuses to be injected. The duo then rushes out. Dr. Regal gives them his car keys and hides in the room himself. He then calls the officials from Moscow and tells them about how the people were killed, but the colonel comes into his room and kills him. The guards find out about the escape and inform the colonel. The guards find the duo before they can reach the car and start firing at them. Just then, Constantine injects himself with the Addison disease and brings the creature out of him. It attacks the guards, successfully distracting them. However, without the creature, Constantine falls unconscious. He has grown entirely dependent on the creature. Tatiana drags Constantine to the car and drives away. Meanwhile, the creature has killed several soldiers. However, it is injured too. The colonel then gets face to face with the creature and shoots it. This affects Constantine in the car. He starts to vomit blood. Tatiana stops the vehicle when she realizes that Constantine can no longer survive without the creature. She brings him out of the vehicle and sees a jeep drive towards them. The colonel steps out of the jeep. The creature had amputated one of his hands. Two of the guards then bring out a box with the dead creature in it. The colonel is about to kill both Constantine and Tatiana when the creature moves. It turns out that it wasn't dead after all. It kills the soldiers and then bites off half of the colonel's head. Constantine seems to be controlling the creature. The creature crawls toward Constantine and enters his body. He regains consciousness. Tatiana assures Constantine that they will try to separate him and the creature in Moscow and that everything will be okay. But just then, Constantine takes a gun and shoots himself, killing the creature and himself with it. The officials from Moscow arrive at the scene and take Tatiana back with them. It is now a few days later. Tatiana arrives at an orphanage in Moscow. She meets Constantine's son for the first time. It is revealed that Tatiana used to live in an orphanage as a child. The movie ends as the little boy hugs her. That was my recap of the movie, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now comment on what your favorite part was, and make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, take care, and goodbye.